out of the township. Constituency boundaries in some cases collapsed, in other cases merged, just so that supporters of the People's Progressive Party Civic could not have won those constituencies in 2018. So we have decided that we will reverse those decisions that the last administration made in terms of collapsing boundaries and merging boundaries. And we will now revert to the 2016 boundaries, meaning that there will be greater representation on the ground. In the Pomeroon River, because services have been so difficult to provide, we have decided that Kitty Providence and Morocco Phoenix, which are both in the Lower Pomeroon, that those NDCs will be merged into one NDC because the population size is very small and it will serve better for administrative purposes as well as capacity development and physical development. In Region 3, we have also decided to again revert to the 2016 constituency boundaries. In quite a few NDCs, some of these were also changed by the last government, and we found that a lot of representation could not happen because their boundaries were changed in 2018 for political purposes that ended up in victimization and discrimination by the last administration. We have also extended the two-flock potential all the way to free and easy, so it will capture quite a few hundred residents who are beyond potential. So they will now be captured within an administrative area called the two-flock potential NDC. In Region 4, we will also be reverting to the 2016 boundaries, unlike what happened in 2018, where especially in PPP-controlled NDCs, that the last administration made some heinous decisions to consolidate areas just so that there would be less support to the People's Progressive Party Civic. And in less support, also less representation. In Region 5, we have extended Woodlands Farm because part of Woodlands Farm includes going into the Dehoop access road, and many areas along the Dehoop access road were also not part of an administrative area. So beyond number 10 Mahaika, Little Bayabu, Big Bayabu, those areas where people actually live, they will now be part of the NDC area. And likewise as well, we will revert to the 2016 boundaries compared to what obtained in 2018, where many of these boundaries were collapsed and in some cases merged. In Region 6, one of the clarion calls has always been the size of 5274, which is the largest NDC area in our country. And so based on representation of residents in those areas, or constituencies or villages in those areas, as well as in our outreach and meetings and consultation with them, we have decided in consultation that the 5274 NDC area will now be split into two NDCs, 52 to 63 and 64 to 74. That again would allow for better management, better support provided, and I think greater representation for people in those areas. In the other areas, we have continued to remain the same in terms of Madia, which is the local authority area in Region 8, the municipality of Madia, the township of Letem, as well as the NDC of Arneputa in Region 9. Wakwani, Linden, all of those will remain the same, as will Georgetown. So there are 14 areas that were affected in 2018, and we have decided that for better representation, that those areas go back to the 2016 constituency boundaries. So we believe that at the end of local government elections on March 13, that there is going to be better representation of people. There is going to be more activism on behalf of residents within these areas, and our government will happily work with all 70 NDC areas as well as the 10 municipal areas across our country. One of the things that I would like to share with you, we have also, because of these modifications and changes, we will now increase the complement of councillors in local democratic organs in the 80 local authority areas, namely the 70 NDCs and the 10 municipalities. So in 2018, we had 1,192 councillors across the country in 596 constituencies, and for the 2023 local government elections, we will have 1,220 councillors in 610 constituencies across the country. So those are our report to the communities across Guyana and to the people across Guyana. President Ali has made this commitment, and we are on the way to fulfilling this commitment and ensuring that the democratic norms that we desire as a people, that those are going to be spread across all the local authority areas in our country. And everyone can be assured of the government's support in making sure that every single NDC and municipal area benefits from the largest that the government manages in the country. We've had many challenges with some of our municipalities as well as NDCs, and we believe too that with local government elections and with the type of activism that has been taking place at the local level, we are going to see greater determination at the local level, and hopefully we are going to see better managed communities. The government is going to be a critical partner, and I would like to commit on behalf of His Excellency as well the support of his government to the development of local democracy in Guyana. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Sir, you thought you were reverting to the former boundaries, but have you contracted any boundaries or reduced any seats?
No, we have not contracted any boundaries, neither have we reduced any seats. As a matter of fact, in Maruca, Phoenix, Kitty, Providence, the boundaries remain the same, and the number of constituencies have also remained the same. Each NDC at that time had 3 constituencies, and we will now have 6 constituencies when the two are merged. As I indicated to you, we inherited 596 constituencies in 2018, or from 2018. We have now expanded to 610 constituencies. So as a matter of fact, we have expanded and not contracted.
So then how do you respond to a plea by Mr. Michael Carrington of the People Development Movement, who says that in the Haruri or Cabinet NDC, there has been a reduction of the number of seats from 8 to 6 and a reduction in the constituencies from 4 to 3?
So in that area, because the area has to be further regularized, we have decided that in terms of population dynamics, that it is better to have many persons grouped within one area so that we can have better representation. As a matter of fact, the area that Mr. Carrington is referring to is very distant. One of the constituencies, very limited number of people and very distant. So what we have decided to do is to capture it into a bigger constituency. What I can tell you too is that that is an NDC that is controlled by the AP and UAFC. So if they do their job well, then there should be no fear.
But was the NDC or the residents consulted?
In all of the changes that have been done, we have consulted, we have met. What I can tell you from the records of the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, that in 2018, there were no consultations done in the public where new NDCs were formed, where constituencies were collapsed, where constituencies were merged. Absolutely no consultation was done. I can also, without fear of contradiction, report that in the last government as well, the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development at that time, Minister of Communities then, did not conduct his constitutional mandate by lawfully making these determinations. As a matter of fact, I would want to think that there was a deliberate attempt to keep out the public from this process in 2018 because a lot of the changes were done internally through the Guyana Elections Commission and not through the consultative national process. So we are comparing apples or chalk and cheese here, where, for example, the last regime were improper in their conduct towards the 2018 local government elections. I don't want to say surreptitiously, but they stealthily change boundaries and collapse boundaries and force people into an environment where they were not comfortable. What we have done is to go back to 2018 and in some cases expanded boundaries to include more persons as part of our local democracy building.
In this particular instance that Mr. Carrington raised, I just want to get from you specifically, was the NDC and the residents, were the NDC and the residents consulted?
Yes, residents and NDCs were all consulted. Yes. I have not seen Mr. Carrington, though, I can tell you, at any of the public engagements that we've had over the last 2 years in the Haruni Yarakabre NDC or even the Lamaha Yarakabre NDC on the Susdike-Linden Highway. And both of those NDCs, as you're aware, were created by the last administration. And I can tell you I have not seen Mr. Carrington at any of our consultations, public engagements, meetings, from the level of His Excellency down to Ministers of Government. So is there any more question? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Unless anyone else has a question. Minister, could you say why there has been no approval of the city bylaws for littering that have been proposed for almost more than a year now?
It is not true that there are no laws against littering. As a matter of fact, I think that Mr. Ubraj Narain, I've seen him speak about it in the press. I think it is very dubious what he has done. The city has bylaws as well as national laws that, of course, supersede bylaws that can be implemented to manage all of our local authority areas. And there is a law against littering, and the city, what they have to do is to make sure that they go out and enforce the laws against littering. We have had the president lead 2 national cleanups. The president also led a cleanup in Georgetown. Ministers of government, the joint services participated, volunteers participated, and I think it is utterly disgraceful that the mayor of Georgetown stayed away from cleaning up the city of Georgetown. I think it is utterly disgraceful, and I cannot imagine how his political handlers can countenance that kind of behavior from the mayor of Georgetown. And I genuinely believe that with local government elections in the next few months, that I hope that the residents of Georgetown are going to make some manifest changes in how the city, policy-wise, is being governed.
But I think one of his pitches for the bylaws is that it will allow also not only for the GDP of the city, but for the earning of additional revenue.
So the problem with Georgetown, and I think that members of the public ought to be aware of this, Georgetown collects its revenue base right now, it's about 2.2 billion Guyana dollars. They have presented budgets to us with that revenue base. They have, sorry, not revenue base, the revenue base is wider, but their collectible revenue over the last few years and historically, $2.2 billion. They have provided, as well as part of their budget, no savings. As a matter of fact, they're expected to spend everything that they earn and even more. So I think that what needs to happen at City Hall is much more than the political maneuverings in the public that is pursued by the AP and UAFC through Ubraj Narain, and for the administration to take account of managing the city much better. What we have, if you go through the budget, there is a minuscule amount of money placed towards solid waste management by the city of Georgetown, and which is possibly the major issue that affects the management of Georgetown. We have had a very limited, where we've seen limited resources placed on enforcement through the city constabulary. But what we have seen too is tens of millions, possibly more, going towards public relations. We have seen hundreds of millions go towards employment. And where are these people? The Ministry of Local Government, the Ministry of Public Works. Our ministries have been the ones doing the heavy lifting. The Ministry of Agriculture as well has basically provided all the resources to keep the city clean and drain properly. All the pumps in Georgetown, despite the torrential rains that we've had over the last few days, we've been able to manage the drainage system of Georgetown. If we had left those things to the management of City Hall directly, then I ponder what would have happened to the residents of Georgetown, and particularly South Georgetown. The City Hall has done absolutely no work in South Georgetown. The last government, South Georgetown is the base of the last government, and the AP and UAFC did absolutely no infrastructural work, absolutely no cleaning, absolutely no social development in South Georgetown. So to want now to impose higher fees on people, I think it's unconscionable on the conduct of the mayor of the city of Georgetown. What they're proposing is to impose greater fees, and it is not the imposition of the fees that will change the dynamic on the ground. It is actually getting the work done. They have not been pursuing and able to collect what has been owed to them. They have immense debts to agencies like GRA, to the Guyana Power and Light, to NIS, and those things I think should be more important to the mayor and city councillors, because workers' rights are actually going to be affected by the way Ubraj and his cohort are managing the affairs of the city of Georgetown.
So you want to approve the bylaws?
We have campaigned on a platform that we will not increase rates and taxes in this country, and our government has ensured that rates and taxes would not be increased. As a matter of fact, we have been able to expand the resource base of our country, and whilst doing so, we have been able to provide a lot of support to offsetting the monumental cost of living increases that affect us, and a lot of which comes from global repercussions. So we do not want people to be unnecessarily paying. What we would like is for better management. So it is not just about City Hall collecting more money. What is it that City Hall is doing with the current money that they're collecting? Over $720 million. Over 60% of their budget go towards payment of labor. They have hundreds of millions of dollars, 720 employees. They have less than 100 persons, I think, on solid waste management. The first meeting I had with the mayor of Georgetown, he told me that the city only has 4 brush cutters, and a brush cutter is 125,000 Guyana dollars. So it is outrageous the way APN, UAFC, and Oberaj are conducting the affairs of the city. The government has been doing the heavy lifting, and as a matter of fact, one of the first projects of this PPPC government is the restoration of City Hall, which is more than $780 million. Those are things that the administration of the city should be looking at, and those are things, that is a landmark in our country. It is one of the most historic structures in our country, and to see how it has deteriorated over the last number of years under the administration of different mayors of the APN, UAFC, and PNC, I think it is a national embarrassment. And so we have decided that we will spend the money and the effort and whatever it takes to return Georgetown to its pristine glory, and for the residents of Georgetown to live in a proper capital city. So our effort is not glib service. We are actually genuine in fostering transformation in Georgetown.
Well, what I was trying to ask is not about the taxes, it's about the imposition of higher penalties for crimes committed. That is literally.
So I've actually answered you, Dennis. What I'm saying to you is the bylaws presented an imposition of higher fees or higher fines. Our issue is not higher fines. There are fines already on the books. The problem that we have with City Hall is that, and in many other areas, they are not implementing or enforcing the current punitive measures against littering and against the wanton disposal of garbage in the drains and on the streets of Georgetown.
Minister, quickly, I know I've been asking a lot of questions concerning local government elections. With the internal migration of Guyanese to large housing settlements in other parts of the country, how representative do you think the existing voters list is of constituencies as far as residency is concerned?
Well, as you're aware, the voters list is a function of the Guyana Elections Commission. And insofar as we are aware, as many persons as possible who live within the confines of an NDC or a municipal area, that those persons should be on the list and should be able to vote at local government elections. As a matter of fact, there have been different instances where different processes were pursued, and I think these are constitutionally mandated processes to ensure that persons register, and that if one moves from point A to point B, that they are captured, especially during the claims and objections period. So I think that local government elections, you are going to find many more persons part of the local government system. And the reason too that we have expanded some of the local authority areas is to ensure that those who were left out, and I dare say deliberately left out in 2018, that those persons are now going to be captured within a local authority area and be allowed to vote and participate in local democracy. So whilst many persons were disenfranchised in 2018, you are going to find many more persons enfranchised to vote in this local government elections, as committed by President Ali.
But don't you think that there are many other persons who will return back to where they previously lived and vote in concept and a reflection of residency.
So, for example, you live in Kingston, Dennis, and if you register in Kingston and then you move to South Georgetown, then that is your responsibility as a citizen. I think it is your democratic right to live where you want, and we are providing those opportunities as part of the policy of the government on housing. And also, as a Guyanese, you are free to live where you want in any part of the country. And as long as you're registered in an area, then it is your duty to go and vote in that area. It is not the duty of the government to determine where you vote. It is the duty of the government to ensure that when you vote, you get services within your constituency. All right, do I have more questions?
For instance, it's true that there are RUs have instructed workers in their regions to work Saturday and Sunday in violation of the public service rules.
I'm not aware that REOs have instructed anyone to work Saturdays and Sundays. And as the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, no staff has reached out to me that they have to work Saturday or Sunday, and Sunday, and or raised any objection to me that they would like to work whenever they want to work. As a matter of fact, for me, I believe that the modern thing to do is if there's work to be done, we get it done. And that is how I see growth in our democracy. We should be able to, if there's work to be done, then there's work to be done. And from time immemorial, and I've been in government for a long time, at the administrative level too. And staff from time to time, if they have outstanding work, some will go into work on weekends, some will stay back on some afternoons to get work done. So we're not a government of 5 days, we're a government of 7 days per week, and we will serve everyone 7 days per week. That is what we campaigned on, and that is how people have voted for us to be accessible at all hours and at all times. And I can commit on behalf of our president that we'll be working 7 days per week to make sure we develop this country. There is a lot to be done in this country, and a lot that has not been done, a lot that has been broken, and so we need probably more than 7 days per week to get our country to where we want it to be.
What's the national enforcement plan against littering? We've got all of these presidential and ministerial cleanups, but what happens next?
These are not presidential and ministerial cleanups. As a matter of fact, on the 12th of November, we've had over 1,000 volunteers who actually came out to clean. The national position is that we have to continue to engage our citizens and for them to take responsibility of solid waste. At the same time, as government, we will do a lot of the heavy lifting by continuing to expand the landfill facilities we have across the country. We will also have to work more closely and more intensively with the LDOs, the NDCs, and the municipalities to make sure that they provide better services, enhanced services. And then we also have to work with the different constabularies and with the Guyana Police Force to enforce the laws against littering, against wanton dumping, and against the destruction of our environment. So it is a collective effort, and it cannot be just an effort of the government. And we'd be happy to have the media also, and I think that this should really be one of your primary issues that you deal with too, in how we transition our country to make it cleaner and to modernize it and to maintain infrastructure. I know you yourself have been messaging and posting when garbage is left on the road, and sometimes some of your posts that you share, I would see those and also get some of our guys to go and remove the garbage. Like, for example, a few days ago on Main Street. So we are happy for a collective effort. Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much for having us. and I hope that this brings greater clarity, and that our citizens and our residents across Guyana who are going to be voting in local government elections, good luck to all of you, and we do look forward to you turning out, and to let's work together to develop our communities and country. Thank you.